choosing a school, a course, or a career path, there is so much to explore. But that's why we're here. Don't know where to start? Mag-browse ka muna sa blog namin. Baka ma-inspire ka sa mga student advice, study hacks, and adulting guides. Meron kami niyan dito. Or learn about career paths that match your skills and interests. Or chat with us. Tanong mo lang, we'll point you in the right direction. O let's say may dream school ka na. You can search for it and learn more about their programs and scholarships. At kung di ka pa decided, don't worry. Search and compare different schools to fit your needs. Pag ready ka na, submit an application. Easy. Maybe you're looking for a new hobby, certification, or degree? We've got online courses for that, and the learning doesn't stop there. Join a quest and pick something up with each visit through articles or videos. And the best part, you get to earn coins and redeem real rewards. Kaya sali na! With the right tools and information, we can find the best opportunities for you. Because the future can be scary. Pero tiwala lang. Keep exploring, keep learning with EDUKASYON.PH.
Everyone has a dream job. Whether you want to be a programmer, a web designer, or an engineer, you have a good idea of a career that fills you with excitement. Like these 5 senior high school students. They know exactly what they want to be and how to pursue their dream job, which is why they're in the technical, vocational, and livelihood track. Here's what they had to say.
Gusto ko po talaga maging engineer.
At nung una po, teacher po. Concern naman po, pwede rin po magturo ng sa workshop, yung about po sa textbook din po. Sa paghahanap po ng trabaho, kung sa teacher po, at saka sa engineer, mas madali ka pong makakapasok ng trabaho kung engineer ka po.
Dream job ko po is engineer po talaga, pero hindi ko pa po sure kung ano pong kind ng engineer po kasi pinag-iisipan ko pa rin po hanggang ngayon.
Ang dream job ko po ay maging architect.
Caregiving po, sabi ng ate ko. Gusto niya pong mag-caregiving dahil gusto niyang makatulong sa mga nagkakasakit o mga matatanda po.
Yun sa engineer po, mas maganda po siyang hanapan ng trabaho. Tas, ang ganda po niyang trabaho kumbaga po. Kasi po parang sa engineer po, doon po papasok po lahat sa paggagawa ng bahay, kailangan din ng engineer.
Mas naging interesado po ako, ma'am, nung nakita ko na ang dami palang ginagawa yung nakakatulong sa kumpanya, and then parang mas makikilala ka. Pamilya din po kasi akong engineer po, yung sa pinsan ko po. Tapos dun po nakakapunta po siya sa ibang bansa, mas mataas po yung opportunity na nakukuha niya po sa mga trabaho or kahit saan po. Mas marami po siyang opportunity na nakukuha dahil po sa pagiging engineer niya.
When I was young, I used to dream of becoming a chef and run my own restaurant. And so I took up the TVL strand. And they offered 2 majors, which are home economics and industrial arts. I ended up choosing the industrial arts because I want to learn and do the things that they said only boys can do.
Gusto niya pong makatulong sa lolo at lola ko dahil nung bata pa po kami, nasa bahay na namin yung lolo at lola namin po at gusto namin silang alagaan.
Gusto ko po ako po yung makakapagturo dun sa mga bagong engineer na dadating, yung mga bagong graduate po, ma'am. Hihikayatin ko po yung kumpanya na tinatrabahuhan ko na mas okay po na tumanggap ng ibang yung engineer po na newly graduate.
Makapag-inspire po ng marami kung saan po makakatulong po sila para maisip po din nila na kailangan po magkaroon din po sila ng dream. Gusto ko po talagang ma-achieve na makatulong po sa ibang tao.
I wanted to fulfill my parents' dream, and that is to have a new house or to renovate our old house, and to achieve my dreams as well, and also to work overseas.
Gusto niya pong matulungan yung mama at papa ko po sa financially po kasi sila yung tumulong sa pag-aaral at gusto niya pong magtrabaho abroad. Proud na proud siya sa sarili niya dahil hearing impaired po siya, tas they were given a chance to go to school po kasi yung iba nahihiya dahil may kapansanan sila, pero siya po gusto niyang makapag-aral at magpursige mag-aral kasi gusto niyang maging proud ang mama at papa ko, at hindi lang sa mama at papa ko, pati na rin sa mga parehas niyang edad, at may diferensya din na maging role model siya na hindi hadlang ang kapansanan para magtapos ng pag-aaral.
Yung pangarap ko na hindi po, kahit po na tumigil ako sa pag-aaral, tutuloy pa rin po ako.
Being practical na po, kung hindi ka po makakatapos ng pag-aaral mo, ang dami na pong nakahilerang kumpanya na pwede mong pasukan. Kasi nga po, kumuha ka na ng course ng techbook.
Working hard and pursuing my dream po for my family and for my future as well also po. And yung dream po na yun, it can make my parents proud of me po as well as myself po.
Sa katulad niya pong senior high school na may kapansanan niya po para magpursige sa pag-aaral, at sa textbook po marami pong mga bagay na madidiscoverhan mo sa sarili mo, katulad ng akala mo na hindi mo kayang yung mga lessons sa caregiving, katulad ng ate ko po, ay doon niya po nalaman na kaya niya po sumabay sa kung ano yung course na kinuha niya po.
These students have big dreams of changing the world by challenging stereotypes, breaking barriers, and pursuing what they love, all in the TechVox strand. Learn more about the possibilities that TechVox has for you on EDUKASYON.PH.
In today's world, businesses are tasked with growing revenues faster than ever before. Building new business applications to generate new revenue streams quickly is critical. Traditionally, businesses would have to wait on IT to provision servers, build the application, test it, and if it didn't happen, start all over again. This process could take months. What if there's a better way? There is. Leveraging Amazon Web Services building blocks, you can easily develop applications to build new revenue streams for your business. Amazon EC2 instances span across a number of different performance levels to support your application's requirements. AWS Identity and Access Management allows you to control who accesses your applications. AWS OpsWorks allows you to easily deploy and manage your applications so you can focus on what matters the most: revenue. AWS brings together the services needed to build and run your applications seamlessly. What does this mean for you? More time to focus on creating value for your business. Learn more about Amazon Web Services today.
Companies are increasingly moving to cloud-based infrastructure to improve agility, gain unlimited scalability, and lower costs. When moving to the cloud, organizations look for the scalability, performance, reliability, and security of the provider's global infrastructure. AWS delivers a cloud infrastructure companies can depend on, no matter their size, changing needs, or challenges. It's designed and built to deliver the most scalable, reliable, and secure cloud computing environment with the highest quality global network performance available today. AWS offers the world's largest global footprint with 66 availability zones, or AZs, across 21 regions. Each region has multiple AZs, separated and isolated from one another and connected by low latency, high throughput, and highly redundant networking. These AZs offer easier and more effective design and operation of applications and databases, ensuring higher availability, fault tolerance, and scalability than traditional single data center infrastructures. Within each AZ, our data centers have been designed with custom, purpose-built compute servers, storage servers, routers, and silicon. By using its own custom hardware, AWS provides the highest level of reliability and the fastest pace of innovation, all at the lowest possible cost. With 20 years of experience operating one of the world's largest websites, 12 plus years of cloud infrastructure expertise, and millions of customers running every imaginable use case, AWS is uniquely positioned to deliver superior operational performance customers can depend on for their most important workloads. Visit the website to learn more.
All right, hello everyone. Welcome again to another Community Ignite series. I'm Rafi Kisumbing, also known as Young CTO. And we are now at episode 3 called Bahay, Kubo sa IT Industry, Infrastructure as Code. So again, what is the Community Ignite series? These are Thursdays, short episodes where we bring people, product, and purpose together. So you, as a young IT professional or professional, if you're early in your career, or perhaps you are just young at heart, or maybe young in your industry, you will definitely benefit from our topics and lessons of the episode. All right, so we bring you leadership skills and technical skills as well. So to know more or to keep in touch, please don't forget to follow our social media via Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, both of EDUKASYON.PH and AWS Club Pilipinas. And I'd like to thank our co-presenter, AWS and AWS Club Pilipinas, for always supporting the initiative. So back to our topic. So today we have very interesting. Our topic is called Bahay Kubo sa IT industry or infrastructure as code. And why did we pick topic? When we say Bahay Kubo, sometimes we think about the bayanihan itself. People would lift the entire house to bring it to different locations. And in today's industry, sometimes you'll notice that there is now a bayanihan of one. So if you didn't notice it, in our poster, we actually had the same speaker wearing multiple hats as a developer, as an Amazonian, as a solutions architect, etc. Right? So you'll notice that again now you need to have a lot of skills. In our previous episode, we were talking about being a generalist. So this could be one example where a generalist is an advantage. So before I begin, or before we start, let me call on our special guests, wearing multiple hats, Sir Alvin.
Hello, Rafi. Thank you very much for that introduction. So, but before I start, just want to see if you're seeing my screen, or can you hear me?
Yes, so we can see your screen now. But before we begin, Alvin, maybe you can give us an idea of your role and position in your organization.
Oh, yeah. So, by the way, so I'll be speaking a little bit of Taglish, kasi everyone's local here. So, hello everyone. So, ako si Alvin, and I'm a senior solutions architect, and I'm based here in Manila. And just like other senior solutions architects, so most of us are generalists, just mentioned by Rafi. But I specialized on software development. So usually, if there's any customers looking for help in terms of software development, so that's where I come in. Okay? And so prior to joining AWS, so I've started my career as a software engineer. So maybe I think we are around 12, 13 years now already before joining AWS. And I've been using AWS since 2008. So I've been an AWS customer then for a long while. So I know what the customers are feeling and what they're going through, and I apply all of those learnings over the years. Okay. So Rafi, so might as well kick off with the topic for today.
Yes, thank you again for that introduction, and please take it away.
Okay, thank you, Rafi. So now, di ba, ang topic natin for today is infrastructure as a code, no? So hopefully we have some audience today that has been using AWS for quite a while. And actually, one of the biggest problems with using AWS, no, and also other cloud providers, is that as compared to before, we're just deploying our applications on-premise. Diba dati isang desktop server lang, tapos lahat doon na naka-deploy. Now, we're deploying multiple components na, no, and usually distributed. And that comes with the problem of doing a lot of configuration. So let's say, for example, if you have to create a three-tier web application on AWS, so you have to go to the VPC, configure the security groups, create an EC2 server, then create an RDS database. So actually, wala namang problema na gagawin yan sa console, no? Pero over the years, we just realized that definitely there's actually an easier way to do this. So, and that came to the point that infrastructure as a code was born. So, ang pinaka concept ng infrastructure as a code is that instead of you doing this manual stuff, you can define your whole infrastructure by using by writing code, no? Okay, so that will be our core topic for today. So, pakita ko lang kung ano yung typical na experience natin dati, no, whenever we deploy stuff. So, dati, actually, era 2005, whenever we deploy applications on our servers, usually we maintain a wiki page, diba? So kung paano i-deploy, na install mo na yung Apache, tapos git pull mo yung code, and then Apache CTL start, diba? Ganun dati, diba? So usually ang deployment process natin is through wiki, tapos may playbook lang tayong ginagawa, no? So that worked, pero over the years we realized na that pretty much slows down our deployments. Then we also have some system administrators who knows a little bit of bash scripting, no? Or maybe PowerShell scripting kung Windows ang gamit nyo. So we have seen customers na instead they converted all of those manual steps into bash script, diba? So and then whenever they do that in AWS, they can actually automate their deployment of infrastructure using shell script and using AWS command line tools, diba? So that's actually pretty much okay. Although ang problem doon is that not everyone knows bash scripting. So usually nakakaalam na niya mga system administrators, di ba? And then over the years, when AWS has been introducing more and more service, we realized that okay, but since all of our AWS services can be accessed through an API, why not we create some kind of language to automate all of these deployments? And that's where CloudFormation came in. So probably you've heard about CloudFormation already, diba? So that's where you define your AWS environment using YAML or JSON. So yung YAML tsaka JSON, they're not technically programming languages. They're more like parang some kind of a formatted string. So it was the first time that you can actually define your whole infrastructure by just creating a text file. And that was born to the point na na may mga companies na along with their code, nandun na rin yung CloudFormation template para i-deploy mo muna yung infrastructure saka i-deploy yung code. Okay? And then over the years, they also realized that writing JSON or YAML code is pretty hard, diba? So it was actually a good start, having YAML and JSON to define your infrastructure. Pero as your infrastructure gets more and more complex, ang hirap na i-maintain yung YAML code mo. So that's why merong isang intermediary na tools na nagawa like Troposphere or GoFormation. So yung GoFormation is basically some kind of a library that you can actually include in Go if you're using a Golang language, that can help you define a CloudFormation template using the Golang language. Okay. But now, I think that was last reInvent 2018. We just released an open source tool called AWS CDK, or called Cloud Development Kit. Now, this is actually the most efficient way of declaring your infrastructure on the cloud, because what's the biggest difference with AWS CDK is that kayang-kaya mo nang i-define yung infrastructure mo using your favorite programming language. So, and ano yung power nun if you're using your programming language, diba? So, syempre, sa CloudFormation, wala kang inheritance, wala kang classes, pwede kang mag-loop, pero mahirap. Pwede ka rin mag-if then, pero mahirap. Pero mga bagay, kayang-kaya mong gawin sa CDK. Okay? So that's why I started off defining my infrastructure using CloudFormation. But since AWS CDK came to be, ito na yung kadalasan na ginagamit ko, no? So I just want to share to everyone how easy it is, so for everyone's appreciation. Okay. Now, ano yung AWS CDK? So in AWS CDK is basically a framework that you can use to define your AWS infrastructure. We support different programming languages. Definitely, we support Python. This is actually my bread and butter programming language. You can start defining your infrastructure using JavaScript or TypeScript. If you're, kunyari, kung front-end guy ka, you know a little bit of JavaScript, then nothing's stopping you to do AWS using JavaScript and TypeScript, which is doon ka familiar, no? We also support Java and C# for back-end developers. And then we're actually also working on supporting Golang, which is coming soon currently. So itong sample code na nakikita nyo dito is basically this is written in TypeScript. But later, in the middle of my presentation, so I'll be presenting a CDK example written in Python. Okay? But as you can see, itong example code na to, this is roughly siguro mga 30 lines of code ng TypeScript, no? Pero ang ginagawa ng CDK is that it compiles this code and generates a CloudFormation template automatically for you. Okay? So magugulat kayo pag once nag-generate na yung CDK template using this code, it will produce around 300 lines of YAML code, which is probably you don't want to write by hand, di ba? Now, ano yung mga main components ng CDK? So, one is the core framework. So, ito yung mga framework na i-install mo sa sa library mo, and then that actually allows you to create your own CDK constructs and stacks and resources. Okay? So, I will run you through the core framework during the demonstration. Okay? And then, ang second component ng AWS CDK is the construct library. Now, para saan tong construct library, no? So, let's say, for example, diba, typical way of creating an AWS workload is that you create your network topology muna. Diba? So you create a VPC. Yung VPC is actually composed of your VPC, tapos subnets and some network ACLs and some security groups. Diba? So actually, napansin namin na over the years, there's certain pattern of creating your own VPC. Ano yung mga best practices para sa ganun, no? So instead of you defining all of those rules dun sa VPC, you can just use the construct library. Kasi if you use a construct library, let's say, for example, I import AWS VPC, by default, it will create a standard VPC for you with 2 subnets with private and public subnet in just one line of code. Okay? So yun yung power ng construct library. And also, let's say, for example, you're deploying a Django web application. There's actually some third party who actually created constructs library that would deploy a Django web application properly. So I can show you some links later on. Okay? And then lastly, yung last component ng CDK is a command line interface. So the command line interface is what you use for creating a CDK project, deploying it, and also destroying your infrastructure. So I will show that also dun sa demonstration later. Now, ito yung isang example ng CDK, no? So we actually have a class. So and pansin mo dito, this is actually where we define our AWS components, no? So first, we define our network topology. So itong VPC. So in this line of code, it actually creates a VPC topology for you na by default, meron ng public tsaka private subnet, and you can actually configure to use multiple AZ, no? So in this case, dalawang availability zone yung ginamit niya. So in just one line of code, actually, marami na nagagawa yun automatically for you. Now, this is an example of code na to. We actually create an ECS cluster. So for people who doesn't know what ECS is, it's actually a container management service that we have. So if you plan to run containers on AWS without worrying about the infrastructure that will run it, you can just let ECS and Fargate do that for you. Now, in this line of code, we're basically defining that, gusto ko ng isang ECS cluster, okay? And just one line of code. Tapos dito, makikita nyo dito, meron ako ditong CDK constructs that calls ECS pattern, Application Load Balanced Fargate Service. Okay? So itong line of code na to, ang ginagawa niyan, it creates an ECS cluster, tapos i-deploy yung containers dun sa Fargate. Tapos naka-define na rin dito kung ano yung container image na i-deploy niya. Okay? So as you can see, very few lines of code, pero pag once na generate niya yung CloudFormation template diyan in JSON, it will actually generate around 829 lines of code as compared to just 37 lines of code pagdating sa TypeScript, no? So katakot-takot na CloudFormation template ang i-write nyo kung hindi kayo mag-CDK. Now, ano yung typical experience when you're writing code in CDK, no? So, using a CLI, so you create a CDK project, so you do a CDK init. Tapos, pag once na write mo na yung CDK constructs mo and you want to see kung ano yung output na CloudFormation template niya, ang command mo lang dyan is CDK synth. Okay? You can also do a CDK diff para makita mo yung differences ng current na sa laptop mo tsaka kung ano yung currently na naka-define doon sa cloud. Okay? So let's say for example, you deployed your 3-stack web application tapos you made some changes and you want to check whether ano yung differences between your new changes tsaka ano yung currently na nasa AWS, so you can do a CDK diff. And then lastly, pag happy ka na, so you can do a CDK deploy. Tapos si CDK deploy na yung bahala mag-deploy ng AWS services mo doon sa cloud, and automatic na yon. So you don't even need to go to AWS console anymore. And then pag once tapos sa CDK deploy, then it will be available on your cloud resources. Okay? Now, as you can see, there's actually a shift from writing YAML and JSON code to define your infrastructure to using an object-oriented programming language, diba? Kasi if you're using an object-oriented programming language, you have a pretty nice framework to create multiple components. So, sa isang example ko mamaya, actually pansin mo, ginawa kong component yung network topology ko, ginawa kong component yung databases ko. I also created a component for API servers. And these components you can reuse, diba? So in the future, kunyari, kung meron kayong standard VPC topology na pwedeng gamitin sa ibang project, so all you have to do is just reuse the CDK construct that you have created before. Okay? Now, definitely para maintindihan niyo mabuti, so let me just show you how it looks like in action, no? So end ko muna yung presentation ko. So hopefully you can see my editor. Okay? So if you go to the internet and do a quick search about CDK examples, no? So there's tons in the internet. So a lot of people have started using CDK nowadays, and some of them actually migrated from writing CloudFormation to using CDK. Now, meron ko isang example dito that defines a 3-tier web application. So a typical na itsura niya is parang typical na web application. We have an AWS region. I-deploy natin to sa Singapore. Tapos, I have an elastic load balancer in front. Tapos, I have a web server here, which is that will act as my presentation layer na nakalagay sa public subnet. And then, I have an backend API server na nakalagay sa private subnet. Tapos, both of them are using EC2. Tapos, I have an RDS database using MySQL. Okay? So, if you do this manually, sa AWS console, I think this would probably make probably around 30 to 45 minutes work if you do it manually on a console, no? But if you're using a CDK, ma-automate natin lahat yan. Okay? So pakita ko lang sa inyo yung example. So itong isang example, chinek out ko na sa editor ko. And the way it looks like is that I have a 3-tier web application here. Tapos, ito yung 3-tier web stack ko. Okay? So, explain ko lang quickly lang, no? So, dito, I have a Python application using CDK framework. Tapos, ito yung main stack ko. And then, actually, I have, how many ito? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 separate constructs. Okay? So, nothing stopping you to define lahat ng AWS services mo sa isang code base. Okay na din naman yun. Pero ang best practice mo is that actually, if you know a little bit of programming, we actually separate our functionalities for reuse. So as you can see, I have created constructs for web servers, for API servers, databases, etc. And that actually allows it to be reused for other CDK projects. Okay. This is where I defined my VPC. So yung VPC is nanggaling sa topology, sa network topology library, which is ito, yung ginawa kong custom. So as you can see here, this is where I defined my VPC and ilang private tsaka public subnets ang gusto ko. And then I defined my security groups, meaning kung saan naka-define ko yung mga ports na naka-open, sino yung pwede maka-access lang. So ginawa ko rin siyang separate component na nakalagay dito. So as you can see, may kanya-kanya security group yung load balancer, web server, tsaka yung API server. And then I also have some other stuff here like yung API servers which will be hosted on EC2. So if you look quickly there, meron akong definition dito ng EC2 using CDK. As you can see,
Alvin,
nakalagay.
sorry to pause
Yes?
a bit, no? We're still seeing your console, the browser. Maybe you can switch back to your presentation.
I know. I'm presenting itong code base talaga, yung browser.
Okay. All right. Sige.
So ito dito nakalagay yung tawag dito, yung definition ng EC2 natin. So as you can see, I'm using Amazon Linux to rito. And then so as you can see na natin to, na nako-componentize natin lahat. And if you have any other CDK projects, pwede yung i-reuse yung mga components nyo. Okay? Now, this pretty much creates a 3-tier web application. So kung titignan natin yan, kung i-deploy natin sa console, no? So kung i-count natin yung how many Python lines of code to define this 3-tier web application, actually around around 307 lines of code. Okay? Now, ang ginagawa ng CDK is that if your ang ginagawa ng CDK magiging output ng Python code ko, siya yung automatically mag-generate ng CloudFormation template ko. Okay? So if you remember doon sa example ko, so sa deck, for you to generate the CloudFormation template, ang command dyan is CDK synth. Okay? So if you press enter, wala pala ako sa tamang folder. So if you press enter, you will see that it automatically generated a very long CloudFormation template. Okay? So as you can see, YAML code yan. And ang total lines of code niya is around 765 lines of code. Okay? So,
Right.
compare mo yan sa compare mo yan sa 37 lines of ilang lines of code na gawa ko nila? 307 yata.
Yes. Oo. Alvin, can we request you just quickly stop share and share again para we can I think the screen froze kasi. All right, thank you there.
Ayan, how about now?
Yes.
Gumagalaw ba yung screen ko? I'm not sure eh.
Yes, now gumagalaw. Thank you so much.
Sige, so ito lang. So pag CDK synth mo, so makikita mo yung lines of code na generate ng CloudFormation template. Okay? So just imagine the amount of time na natipid sa'yo. Natipid sa'yo ng CDK, di ba? So especially if you have Python developers in-house, instead of writing this long line of CloudFormation template code, then definitely CDK would be a worthwhile effort to do it. Okay? Now, pag okay ka na, pag happy ka na, so ang next na step dyan is do a CDK deploy. Okay? So ang gagawin ni CDK CLI dyan is that it will prompt you kung ano yung mga makikreate na AWS resources. Tapos pag happy ka na, all you have to do is just answer yes. And then it will communicate to AWS CloudFormation to deploy yung 3-tier web application mo that was defined using Python. Okay? Now, as you can see, what happens in the background, so kung titignan natin dun sa AWS console, kung ano nangyayari, kung papasok tayo sa CloudFormation console, as you can see, meron ditong bagong CloudFormation stack that's actually being define, no? Itong 3-tier web application. And currently create in progress yan. Okay? So, if you look at the progress, currently nag-ano yan, nagki-create ng VPC, nagki-create ng EC2, etc. Okay? So, kung titignan natin yan, tignan natin kung may VPC na siya na-create. Okay, let's see. Natin kung may bagong VPC. Ayan, no? So, kung makita mo rito, meron na tayo dito ang bagong VPC that was created. 3-tier web dev VPC. Okay? So, everything's being done automatically by CDK. So, it even comes to the point that you don't need to go to AWS console anymore. So that's actually the main power niya. Okay? So, now, while our stock is deploying, this will take a while, lalong-lalo na kasi kung nag-create tayo ng RDS, medyo matagal ang creation yan. So, I'll go back to my presentation and then let's revisit this later. Okay? Kung natapos na siya. Okay. Now, kung nakita niyo yung code base kanina, so as you can see, we used different CDK constructs. So, think of it, ang CDK constructs is like para siyang cloud formation stacks, no? So, now, for AWS, we actually created a huge construct library, no? So, let's say, for example, if you want to create VPCs, if you want to create DynamoDB tables, if you want to create EC2 instances, all you have to do is just go to the AWS construct library and then see kung ano yung mga CDK templates, CDK libraries na pwede mo gamitin. So, if I just quickly show you kung saan yung makikita yan, kung Google natin quickly lang itong AWS CDK API docs. Okay? So, meron na kami dito documentation about CDK. Let's say, for example, Python. Okay? Let's say, for example, I want to create an API gateway. So, napansin nyo dito, meron na kami documentations dito kung anong library gagamitin mo, itong API gateway, tsaka ano yung mga classes na pwede mong gamitin. So, well-documented na yan. Okay? So, let's say, for example, let's go to EC2. Mas magandang example yun. Okay? So, let's go to EC2. Okay, AWS EC2. And then dito, meron example dito na if you want to create an instance, all you have to do is just look for the instance object.
Yes. We're still seeing the Firefox. Medyo slow down lang konti, no? Sa Firefox search pa or new tab pa. Again,
delayed yung screen.
Oo, medyo delayed yung screen, no?
Okay. Sorry about that. Medyo may delay tayo sa screen. Let me know if you see the instance na.
Hindi pa. Maybe you can share and ayan, nakita na. Oh, wait lang, may delay nga lang.
Ko lang yung share, no? End ko lang yung share, baka may technical issues na tayo.
Right.
Screen.
No, and again to our audience, no, thank you for being here and understanding our technical difficulties. It really happens na. Sinasabi nila pag nagde-demo or pag nala-live, dun lagi may issue. Pero pag practice, okay lang. Diba? It really happens.
Wait lang, mukhang nagreklamo na yung ano ko nangyari dito. Can you see my screen?
Wait lang, may konting lag lang. Saglit lang. And wala pa. I'll just ask our technical director to show the screen once it's ready. And I will confirm if okay na, no?
Okay, so try ko ulit Mukhang na-block ng browser yung screen ko eh.
I see.
Weird. Wait lang screen 1. How about now?
It's loading. I can now see the instances. The instance.
Ayan. Okay.
Yes. Go ahead.
So, this is actually a sample of one of the AWS constructs. So, if you want to create an EC2 instance, so all you have to do is go to their API docs and you can see kung yung class na gagamitin mo. And then, ano yung mga properties. So, let's say, for example, kung ang instance type, kung T2 micro ba yan, or M5 large, you can do it there. Okay? So, along with the construct library that we have created, meron din mga third party that was created, and nothing's also stopping you to create your own AWS construct, no? So, let's say, for example, if you want to create your own 3-tier web app construct, so you can do it just like this example na pinakita ko kanina. Okay? Now, yung constructs, may mga iba't iba kasing levels yan. One is that you can create, you can import your CloudFormation template. So let's say, for example, you may ask na, ay, Alvin, meron na kaming CloudFormation template na ginawa namin dati. Can I use that on my CDK? So technically, yes. So you can actually import your CloudFormation template into your CDK project. And typically, ang tawag natin dyan is construct level 1. Kasi yun yung parang pinaka-basic, di ba? Kasi ang pinaka-output kasi ng CDK is a CloudFormation template. Now, sa L2 construct naman, ito naman yung mga high-level service constructs like EC2, VPC, tulad ng mga pinakita ko kanina, diba? Doon sa may API docs. Now, meron din isang another level which is yung purpose-built constructs. So, ito yung mga ginagawang constructs wherein, say for example, if you want to create a web application that will be hosted on ECS Fargate, tapos gusto ko naka-define na yung VPC ko, so you can actually import other higher level constructs from other creators. So actually yung pinakita ko kaninang application Fargate service, it's actually a high level construct which is an L3. So in just one line of code, marami na nag-generate yan sa'yo. Okay? So ito yung isang example ng L1. So yung L1, you're pretty much like defining your infrastructure using CloudFormation. Parang isang example to. Yung L2 is like yung libraries na nanggaling sa AWS Construct Library. So if you want to create a VPC, sa pansin nyo, isang line of code nandito, EC2 VPC, pero technically, ang generate niyan, ito. So meron ka ng VPC with public subnet at private subnets. And by default, dalawang availability zones yan. Okay? So kagandahan ng if you're using L2 constructs from AWS library, automatically yung best practices na agad yung na-apply dyan. But at the same time, you can also override yung behavior dyan. So kunyari, kung gusto nyo isang availability zone lang, pwede naman din, magdadagdag kayo ng parameter dito. Okay? Another example ng L2 constructs is this one. So we actually created a DynamoDB table. Diba? And then, ang ginagawa nito is that for every time na merong bagong object doon sa S3, mag-fire tayo ng Lambda, tapos i-insert natin sa DynamoDB. So, ito yung sample line of code dito. So, we define a DynamoDB table. We created an S3 bucket in just one line of code. And then, we defined a Lambda function. That's actually going to be triggered whenever there's a new object on Amazon S3. Okay? So, roughly around 10 to 15 lines of code to, pero pagdating sa CloudFormation, around siguro mga 50 lines of code yan. Now, ito yung parang pinaka-powerful na feature ng CDK. So, you can actually define complex infrastructure by creating your own high-level constructs, no? So, as you can see here, itong isang example dito, we actually created an ECS cluster na naka-host sa Fargate. Tapos, yung web application natin is going to be exposed by an application load balancer. Tapos, ang pinaka-input lang ng construct sa to is kung anong container image ang gagamitin. Okay? So, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 lines of code to. Pero, if you use this high-level construct, it's going to create an infrastructure like this. Na may VPC, may elastic load balancer, tapos meron tayong ECS cluster. Okay? And that actually generates 829 lines of CloudFormation template code. Okay? So, yun parang pinaka-power ng CDK. And AWS actually creates our own high-level SDKs din, high-level constructs din. But you can also go to third-party kasi marami rin gumagawa ng mga open-source na CDK constructs. You can also import existing CloudFormation templates. So you might also ask, meron akong CloudFormation dati, so pwede ko bang i-reuse yan sa CDK? So pwede yun. So this is actually an example that we included an existing CloudFormation template, and then we can reference that from the code. Okay? So meron kaming website. So if you do a quick search about AWS Solutions Constructs, makikita nyo dyan, we have created a lot of CDK constructs that you can actually reuse. So let's say, for example, if you want to create an infrastructure that will have an API gateway, tapos ang gusto nyo, lahat ng traffic na pumapasok sa API gateway will be logged to DynamoDB. So instead of you doing it manually, so you can actually use this one. So we actually have a CDK construct that creates an API gateway, and then stores the incoming traffic into DynamoDB. So you can actually define this in just a few lines of code, and then you have this infrastructure na agad. Okay. Another example is that if you want to create an API gateway that stores the request into an SQS queue para ma-process in asynchronously, so may AWS construct din kami dyan. Okay. So mapapasimplify ito further on creating defining your backend using CDK. Meron din mga third party, kasi since open source ng si CDK, marami rin nag-create ng mga opinionated na CDK constructs. I've actually seen some third party developers who have created CDK constructs specifically for framework. So if you're using PHP Laravel framework, most likely may nakapag-create na ng CDK construct for that. So instead na mag-define ka pa ng infrastructure mo manually, try to look for a CDK construct first, because probably somebody has created that for you. Okay. Okay. Now, I can only talk so much in just 1 hour, no? But I would highly recommend that you take a look at CDK. So actually, what we can do is that the best way to really understand this is to go through a workshop. So recently, nag-contact ako ng mga CDK workshops for customers and etc. Probably, if you're really interested with the CDK workshop, to go to a hands-on workshop on how to write CDK constructs, please let Rafi know. And actually, there's actually a survey link that will be show you later. So if you want to attend a CDK workshop, please make yourself put your note there and maybe say kung email address mo, kasi baka in the future we can conduct one for you. And then one of the best ways of learning CDK is actually to look at someone else's code, no? So if you do a quick look at AWS samples, marami kami itong AWS CDK samples. We have created one in GitHub. Ito, ang dami yan. So kung let's say for example in Python, ano yung mga examples dito. So let's say for example, if you want to create a code pipeline. So kunyari gusto mo gumawa kayo ng release pipeline na automatic every time na may nagko-commit sa Git repository mo, tapos mag-build, tapos i-deploy. So usually ginagamit natin dyan is code pipeline, code commit, code deploy. So you either configure that manually sa AWS console, or you can actually define this using CDK. Okay. Now, another one way of learning this is that meron kaming public website called CDK Workshop. So I'll put that in the link later. If you want to learn more about how to create, how to define your backend infrastructure using CDK, so meron kaming step-by-step guide dito. You can try it on your own AWS account. Actually, fairly safe siya kasi pag once na natapos niyo na yung workshop, all you have to do is just do a CDK destroy, tapos burado na yung infrastructure na yun. Okay? Now, let's look at my demo kanina, no? So, as you can see, diba nag-CDK deploy na ako kanina. Tapos na siya. Ayan, no? And then let's visit ko ano nangyari dito. So, let's look at EC2 kasi dapat magdi-deploy yan ng mga EC2 servers kasi define natin sa CDK.
Right. Again,
as you can see,
may lag tayo konti sa Firefox natin. Saglit lang, no?
Okay, wait lang.
Catch up lang natin yung ating... Ayan, okay na. Kita na ulit yung...
Okay, sige. Malaki yung latency natin, ha? Okay, so, yun. So, nakapansin nyo dito, automatically na-generate na yung API servers, web servers, di ba? Imbes na manually nyo pang i-create. Tapos, tingnan natin kung kung na-create na niya yung RDS, yung database. Okay. Loading. Okay. And I can see here, we have an RDS database. Ayan, no? So that was created automatically by CDK, right? And then, previously, di ba napakita ko kanina, meron na tayong VPC. So in the magic, so by using your favorite programming language, you can actually define a complex infrastructure like this. Now, let's say for example, isa pa sa mga biggest benefits ng CDK is that, let's say for example, dati pag manual mo kinreate yung infrastructure mo, di ba? Using console, you have to delete the resources manually. Pero pag define mo yan sa CDK, madali siya i-delete. So all you have to do, pakita ko lang kung paano. So since tapos na yung demonstration ko and I want to delete these resources, so all you have to do is just type in CDK destroy. Okay? Tapos, ang gagawin ni CDK dyan, are you sure you want to delete? Then answer yes. And then, ang gagawin niya, lahat ng automatically na dineploy niya para sa atin, yung EC2, yung RDS, yung VPC, it will delete it manually, automatically. So, isa to sa mga pinamagandang benefits niyan. Okay? So, if you look at our CloudFormation dashboard, you should see na yung stack na 3-tier web application is now being deleted. Okay? So, and as you can see, it's really powerful and actually one of the best free tools that came out from AWS. So, I really want to share this to everyone, lalo-lalo na sa mga existing AWS users. Okay? Another one is that I also recently taught how to do application security. So, and how to scan your code base automatically using security scanning like SonarCube or WhatsApp, tapos making sure that your third-party libraries are secure. So usually you can create a CI/CD or DevOps pipeline for that. So ito isang example. Pero as you can see, itong infrastructure na to, actually I can define this using CDK. So itong workshop na to actually uses CDK to deploy to define this pipeline. So just goes to show that it can do a lot of things beyond defining Lambda functions, creating EC2 servers. It can even create release pipelines using CDK. So that's how powerful it is. Okay. And as you can see, nagdi-delete na siya. This will take a while kasi medyo matagal mag-delete ng RDS kasi mag-backup pa muna yan bago mag-delete. Okay. All right, so that's it for the demonstration, and I will send this link, the decks for everyone who have attended. So if you want to get a copy of the decks, please make sure that you put the email on the survey link. And here's the survey link. So and definitely if you want to know more about CDK, so please put it on the survey link. And also if you're interested on learning other stuff. Not necessarily AWS, but also other programming stuff like how to automate your testing, how to do application security. So please put a note in there so that we can consider talking more about these topics on our later iterations of this series. And okay, with that, I pretty much set aside a lot of time for Q&A. So Rafi, I just want to check whether if there's any question on the board.
Right. Thank you so much for that interesting question and also sharing your screen. So I do have a couple of questions here for you. So first is the first question I have here is in terms of frameworks. Now we were talking about using CDK as a tool for infrastructure as service, and you mentioned that there have been a lot of practices over the years. No? At what point, or basically, how do you define, or what do you advise to a company or to developers? At what point should they adopt CDK, or let's say, like you said, CloudFormation, or even just simple playbook Is there a particular guide? Should they immediately jump to CDK? Should they know the basics first? What are your opinions on this?
Okay, so I'm not pretty much telling everyone to use CDK, no, but it definitely what works for you. Let's say for example, let's say for example, if you're a startup, right? And usually sa startup, lahat ng mga developers is full stack. Full stack in such a way that you both do front end and back end, no? But things are evolving in such a way that even developers are being expected to deploy this in the cloud, right? So it comes to since you have the development understanding, I would highly recommend that you use CDK na rin. So to define your backend, kasi this will make your deployments much faster, more standardized, diba? And at the same time, you can actually deploy your infrastructure right alongside your code. So just imagine, diba, the speed and the agility. Another way of looking at it is that if you're an existing AWS practitioner, tapos you've been using CloudFormation for quite a while, and you've realized that, nag-create ako ng CloudFormation template, tapos ang hirap i-maintain, nagiging complex na yung infrastructure ko. So it's actually one of the main reasons why we created CDK, di ba? So with a little bit of understanding of programming, you can actually further simplify your template. So instead of you writing by hand, which is actually pretty erroneous, lalong-lalo na pag malaki na yung CloudFormation template mo. So that's actually one way of using CDK. Okay, so it could be gradual, but actually for startups or even developers, diba? That knows a little bit developers who knows a little bit of cloud environments. I highly recommend to invest time on learning CDK, kasi it helped me a lot. I myself, whenever I'm creating workshops, diba, syempre yung workshops ko, kailangan ko ulit-ulitin yan for everyone. So instead na manually ko i-create yung mga resources, pwedeng CDK na lang. Diba? So, and then pag nagustuhan ng mga attendees ko yung workshop, binibigay ko yung CDK code so that they can deploy it on their own AWS accounts. Okay?
Right. I have a personal question on this, just to add to that. So, as you mentioned, it compiles it, or basically it is a CloudFormation at the back, no? So, do you potentially need to understand CloudFormation first, like para magamit mo yung, let's say, yung mga drift detection, ganyan, or are those features eventually parang may sariling CDK drift detection na rin later on?
Yes, so definitely knowing a little bit of CloudFormation helps, kasi behind the scenes, CDK is just an interface in front of CloudFormation, no? So the one who detects the drift is CloudFormation itself. So yes, somehow dapat may konting understanding ka sa CloudFormation. Now, also if I may to add, if you're not familiar with AWS yet, di ba? I would not suggest to use CDK yet, kasi probably hindi ko pa alam kung yung EC2, hindi ko pa alam yung Lambda. So might as well undergo to the basics first, di ba? And then try to play around AWS console para makita mo kung paano gumagana and all that. And then pag once very familiar ka na, and then want to automate kung saan yung automate mga bagay-bagay, then saka ka na mag-CDK. Okay? So I'm not saying na AWS beginner ako, dive in agad sa CDK. No, you should have a little bit of understanding of what AWS services that you can use.
Yes. And actually, ito nga yung sabi ni Liel Relon sa ating comments, no? May smiley face pa konti, no? Sabi niya HTML and CSS pa lang alam ko. So I guess it adds to the next question, no? How does one get upskilled in these technologies, no? Especially the cloud?
Okay, so one would definitely be well, we have tons of content even for AWS, free content for you to undergo. Kung totally AWS beginner ka, I would suggest you go to the cloud practitioner pathway muna, kasi definitely hindi ka makapag-create ng CDK constructs kung hindi mo alam kung ano yung mga Lego blocks na gagamitin mo, di ba? So go through the practitioner part first, and then attend some immersion days workshops that we conduct. And then, pag once na meron ka ng AWS understanding, choose your favorite programming language. So for me, ang pinaka easiest to understand really for beginners is Python. Even my 7-year-old kid knows a little bit of Python already. So it's actually a good start. And what's really good is that with CDK, we actually support Python. If you're a Java developer, then definitely you can use a Java library. Okay. Now, for the CDK learning, so dun sa may deck ko, you can just go to the CDK workshop. Pwede kaya mong gawin yan by your own. So kung may AWS account ka, you can run through the workshop by yourself. Or if come to the point na medyo malaki yung interest natin dito no sa CDK, we can probably set up a workshop talaga that we will conduct.
Yes.
I usually conduct CDK workshops around mga 3 to 4 hours half day to. So to get everyone immersed on how it works.
Yes. I have a couple of questions here, no? Na some of them are mixed, CDK and ano. So maybe I'll just mention a few, no? We have a question here from Alife, which says, meron bang resource limits or restrictions sa AWS CDK? Are there currently any things that are not supported? Maybe sa resources, or everything's really available at the moment?
Yeah, so good question, no? So with CDK, actually, if you go to I'm still sharing my screen, no? Nakikita niyo pa rin?
You're not yet. We'll project your screen. Ayan.
Okay. So as you can see, actually, almost lahat ng AWS services, kayang-kaya mo nang i-define using CDK, no? But in terms of services, diba? Kasi we always release new services every now and then, diba? So, kunwari, yung code guru, I'm not sure kung may code guru na dito, wala pa yata. Yung code guru was just a recent release, diba? Yung machine learning enabled system that will do a code review for your code. Actually, code guru na pala.
Yes.
So, minsan pa, no, pag may bagong AWS service, hindi pa available sa CDK. So, humahabol pa yan. Pero, probably give it siguro few weeks, few months, tapos may CDK library na agad for that. Okay? Now,
Yes.
if you're asking more about, sorry, go ahead.
No. Just finish up. Finish the question.
Yep, and also about yung if there's any resource limits, or kunyari, kung how many CDK commands can I do, or how many CDK projects that I can have, totally walang limit dyan. Ang magiging limit mo lang talaga dyan is, kunwari, yung AWS account mo is, by default, ng AWS account time, only create 5 VPCs. Diba? By default. For your guardrail. Kung sakali mahak ka, 5 VPC muna. Pero, pag sa CDK na hit niya yung limit na yun, na, hey, by the way, 5 VPC lang yung allowed sa akin, mag-fail siya. So, yung limits doon, nakatay doon sa specific sa AWS service na ginagamit mo. Pero, on the CDK itself, there's no limit. You can use it anytime you can. There's no limit about how many CDK projects you can have.
Right. And siguro for our last question, no, and the rest of the questions we'll try to forward it to our speaker, as long as, again, also just try to fill up the survey as well at the very end so that we can contact you if you wish. So our last question is from Danica, which is, for those that are using, I thought this is an interesting question for me, which is, they've been using SAM already, the serverless application model, no? Can you use CDK with SAM? No? I guess that's haba yung question, pero the gist of it is like that.
Yeah, actually, very great question. No? So it's actually a common question. Being asked during my CDK workshops. No, kasi the typical way of deploying serverless functions in AWS is using SAM, di ba?
Yes, SAM CLI.
SAM CLI. But ang SAM kasi is like a CloudFormation template din eh. It's just another version of CloudFormation template specifically for serverless applications, no?
Right.
So, but on top of SAM, mayroon din siya mga additional features. So, let's say, for example, if you want to test your Lambda function locally on your laptop, feature set ni SAM yun. Diba? So, si CDK walang ganon. But, On my own personal preference, if you ask me, whenever I create serverless functions, I don't use SAM anymore. But that's only me. I'm not saying you follow what I'm doing. Kasi gusto ko kasi isang tool lang. I actually deploy Lambda functions na nowadays on CDK. Kasi I don't usually use yung mga local testing. I want to test on AWS account talaga mismo. Okay? Now, if you ask, can I use SAM and CDK together? Yes, you can do. So, actually, we just recently announced this. Meron ng official bindings may official bindings na si AWS SAM tsaka si CDK. And if you do a quick search about just quick Google search about AWS SAM and AWS CDK, they work together seamlessly na. Okay? So, let's say for example, if you have defined your serverless application using SAM, and you intend to use CDK to define your other infrastructure, you can use them together na. No need to rewrite your SAM templates anymore. Okay?
Great. No, I think we'll also explore that here in Edukasyon. We're using SAM a lot, and definitely that's an area that we can look at as well. And again, that's the last question that we'll entertain. Thank you again so much, Alvin, for your time.
Yep. Thank you rin for having me. So hopefully, I can come back again. So, but definitely, this is actually quite fast because 1 hour lang tayo. Actually, 45 minutes lang tayo. I know a lot of people probably might have been confused, but if you're really interested on learning CDK, so go to the cdkworkshop.com or comment to the survey if you want us to run an official workshop for you. Okay?
Right. And then again, thank you. So as we wrap up now, so I'm again Rafi Kisumbing from the Young CTO. And again, to follow us, please do look at our social media, Edukasyon, and of course, AWS Club Pilipinas. And again, I'd like to thank our co-presenter, AWS and AWS Club Pilipinas. So I'll now be presenting our, as earlier mentioned, so if we can just show our QR code so that if you quickly just scan your phone, you'll get a survey, 2 minutes. Please do fill it out so that we can improve our next series. And again, this is not the last episode. Of course, we hope that you will continue following us every Thursday, 6 p.m. for just 1 hour. Very short now. And of course, as we were talking about upskilling ourselves, and I'd like to present for those who are just about to begin their journey, AWS actually has, especially for students, an AWS Educate journey for you. So please watch.
Welcome to AWS Educate's Cloud Career Pathway. AWS Educate helps you create a pathway into innovative and lucrative opportunities in the rapidly expanding cloud industry. On AWS Educate, you will discover the skills necessary to advance into cloud careers, explore content, test your knowledge, seek micro-credentials as badges and certificates of completion, and even have the opportunity to apply for jobs and internships in the cloud. Start off by building your profile, adding your resume, classes, degrees attained, and other facets of your experience. Then, select a cloud career field. From there, we'll personalize your plan by providing content that matches your pathway. As you consume that content, we'll prompt you to take knowledge checks of 3 to 5 questions in order to gauge your comprehension. After you've completed 50% of the knowledge checks, you'll have a chance to earn an AWS Educate badge. Then, up-level your profile by completing a project and a final assessment, and you can receive an AWS Educate Certificate of Completion. Take applicable courses at your school or online to grow your knowledge and fill gaps in your skill set. All of these achievements can be added into your portfolio. Then put it all together. Apply for a job or internship at Amazon or at one of our customers or partners through the AWS Educate Job Board. Download your portfolio and send it to your potential employer to get your ideal job in the cloud. So what are you waiting for? Start your career pathway today.
right. And again, thank you everyone for being here with us. Next week, we have an interesting topic. We're talking about product or product making. Now, when does a product or project become out of scope, or when does it become really a sprint to success? So I'll catch you next week, same time, same channel.